Chapter 1: How my life got ruined by a guy who fell through my ceiling. If bad decisions were a sport, I'd be a national champion. My name is Jace, and I'm a school student with 3 very special talents. Talking when I really shouldn't. Messing up things that were already broken. Not taking my own mistakes seriously. Teachers hate me. Parents scream at me, for fun, apparently. Friends keep me around because life is more entertaining when I'm nearby. That night, I was lying on my bed, rereading my favorite comic, the villain chapters, because heroes are boring. And then, I did what any normal person does, I argued with the page. Honestly, I said, pointing at the villain, if you were real, you'd probably kill me in 5 seconds. The ceiling cracked. I blinked. Once. Twice. Then froze completely. Okay, I muttered. That's new. Next thing I knew, a man fell from my ceiling. Fully armored. Sword in hand. Hair that looked like it belonged on a Renaissance painting. And a glare sharp enough to cut glass. I screamed. He did not. He got up slowly, scanning my room like he was judging my entire existence. You, he said. Explain. Now. I blinked. Then pointed at the comic. Then at him. Then at, well, nothing. Hi. I said. He raised an eyebrow. I swear it could have pierced me. He took a step closer. You summoned me, he said, voice cold enough to freeze my blood. Not me, I said immediately. I can barely summon motivation, let alone a homicidal villain. He looked around my room. Then back at me. Then paused. A long, terrifying pause. You, he said. You will return me to my world. I nodded, too quickly. Right. Sure. Just one tiny problem. I gestured vaguely at the room. I have no idea how. He didn't smile. He didn't even frown. He just looked disappointed. And that made me want to laugh. Then you will assist me, he said. You will obey. I smiled. Big. Proud. Confidently wrong. Define obey, I asked cheerfully. That, apparently, was my first mistake. From that moment on, I became the worst servant in history. I disobeyed. I joked. I insulted his armor. I tripped over his sword. I spilled my cereal. And he, Orion Black, the villain I'd loved reading about, tried everything to leave. Every single way. Teleport. Portal. Threats. Scolding. Cold glaring. Nothing worked. And somehow, his domination just made him even more terrifying. And hilarious. Yes. That is the chaos that officially became my life. Chapter 2: The villain discovers modern life, and hates all of it. The first rule of surviving a villain from another world is this. Do not let him touch your phone. I learned this too late. Morning came like it always does, too early and completely unwanted. I was half asleep when my alarm went off, blasting some annoying song I forgot to change 3 years ago. Orion Black woke up instantly. I mean instantly. Like soldiers in war instantly. He was on his feet, sword out, scanning my room like the alarm was an assassination attempt. What demon calls you at dawn? He demanded. That, I said, pulling my pillow over my head, is my alarm. It exists solely to ruin my life. He stared at my phone like it had personally insulted his ancestors. This device, he said slowly, is summoning noise without magic. Yes, I replied proudly. Technology. We worship it. He didn't look impressed. He picked it up. I screamed. Don't. Too late. The screen lit up. His eyes narrowed. He pressed something. My lock screen camera turned on and showed his face. He froze. The phone froze. I froze. He leaned closer to the screen. It has trapped my soul, he said calmly. I laughed so hard I fell off the bed. No, 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 I gasped. That's just your face. He did not appreciate that. By breakfast, Orion had decided 3 things. My world was illogical. I was unbearable. He was leaving as soon as possible. He demanded answers. About portals. About magic. About why my ceiling still existed if worlds could collide. I answered none of them properly. When he ordered me to assist with dignity, I responded by brushing my teeth while making eye contact. He hated that. Then my mother knocked. I have never seen terror move so fast across a villain's face. Who lives here? He hissed. My parents. Define parents. Before I could explain, my mom opened the door. She saw a tall man in black armor standing in my room, holding a sword, looking deeply offended by existence. She blinked. Orion straightened like he was facing an enemy general. This dwelling is compromised, he said. We must relocate. My mom looked at me. I looked at her. He's from a cosplay club, I said. Orion turned slowly. Company. Splay. Yes, I nodded. Very dangerous people. She sighed. Jace, get dressed. You'll be late for school. School. I had forgotten about school. Orion had not. You will not leave, he said immediately. I kind of have to, I replied. Education. Society. Truancy laws. He stepped closer. Too close. You are my anchor, he said quietly. If you disappear, I may be trapped. That sounded important. And threatening. And cool. I grinned. So, you need me. His jaw tightened. I require you, he corrected. Do not misunderstand. Oh, I understood perfectly. That day, I went to school with a villain pacing my room, trying to tear reality open while texting me orders I absolutely did not follow. He tried rituals. He tried commanding the air. He tried stabbing my comic book. Nothing worked. And every failure made him angrier. Which, unfortunately, made him even more fun to annoy. By the end of the day, Orion Black, villain, conqueror, destroyer of worlds, was sitting on my bed, arms crossed, glaring at my window like it had betrayed him. I will return, he said. I nodded. Sure. After dinner. He glared at me. And I smiled. Because something told me. This was going to get much worse. Chapter 3, I go to school. The villain declares war. Going to school knowing a literal villain is alone in your room feels illegal. I kept expecting police sirens. Or portals. Or my house to explode. None of that happened. What did happen was my phone vibrating every 5 minutes. Orion. Return. Now. I sighed and stuffed my phone into my pocket. School was normal in the way disasters usually are before they start. Teachers lectured. Students whispered. Someone threw a paper ball. Someone else got caught. My friends found me immediately. Bro, my friend said, squinting at me. Why do you look like you didn't sleep? I didn't, I replied. There's a villain in my room. They stared. Like metaphorically, another asked. No, I said. Like sword. Armor. Death threats. They laughed. I laughed too. Because if I didn't, I might actually scream. My phone buzzed again. Orion. Why are there children screaming in your memory box? I typed back under my desk. Me. That's school. There was a pause. Then. Orion. This world raises warriors very poorly. I snorted out loud and earned a warning from my teacher. During math class, my phone vibrated non-stop. Orion. I attempted to open a gate. It failed. Orion. I commanded the air. It ignored me. Orion. Your ceiling mocks me. I bit my lip to stop laughing. At lunch, my friends started arguing about a new series. I barely listened, because my phone buzzed again. Orion. Why is there a tiny glowing man yelling at me from the wall? I froze. Me? What did you touch? Orion. The black mirror. My heart dropped. Me? That's the TV. Stop pressing things. Orion. It shows battles with no honor. That actually sounded like him. When school finally ended, I ran home like my house might not exist anymore. It still did. Mostly. Orion was standing in the middle of my room, cloak thrown over a chair, sword leaning against my desk, staring at my posters like they had personally offended him. You live surrounded by illusions, he said. You fell through my ceiling, I replied. We all have flaws. He turned to me slowly. I tried every path, he said. Every spell. Every command. Your world rejects me. I shrugged. It does that. He stepped closer. You are involved, he said. This bond, whatever it is, it centers on you. I raised an eyebrow. So you're saying I'm special? He stared at me. Do not enjoy that. I absolutely enjoyed that. He wasn't soft. He wasn't kind. He was still dangerous. Still dominating. Still ordering me around like I existed to be useful. But for the first time, he wasn't just angry. He was confused. And somehow, that made everything even more interesting. Chapter 4, my parents start asking questions, and the villain loses patience. If there's one thing worse than a villain trapped in your room, it's parents who notice things. My mom noticed first. She noticed the broken ceiling. She noticed the strange footprints. She noticed the fact that I was suddenly too well-behaved, which is suspicious behavior coming from me. Jace, she said at dinner, narrowing her eyes. Is there something you want to tell us? I swallowed. No. Orion, who was standing very still in my room like a decorative threat, did not appreciate that answer. You lie easily, he said later. It is inefficient. I'm surviving, I replied. Big difference. He had spent the entire afternoon trying to tear reality open. He stabbed the air. He carved symbols into paper. He even stood on my bed and shouted words that absolutely did not belong in my house. Nothing worked. By evening, he was furious. Not loud furious. The dangerous kind. This world resists me, he said. And you are at the center of it. Wow, I said. I've never been important before. He glared. Do not joke. That's when my dad knocked. Orion moved so fast I barely saw it. Sword gone. Cloak adjusted. Expression controlled. He stood behind my door like a shadow. Jace, my dad said, opening the door slightly. Why does your room look like a construction site? I panicked. Art project, I said. Orion whispered, you are terrible at deception. I'm doing my best, I whispered back. My dad stepped inside. And froze. Because Orion Black, villain, conqueror, destroyer of fictional worlds, was standing in my room pretending to be a completely normal human being. This is, my dad asked. My cousin, I said immediately. Orion's eye twitched. From far away, I added. Yes, Orion said calmly. Very far. My dad stared at the sword. Is that real? No, I said quickly. Plastic. Orion tilted his head. Is it? I coughed loudly. My dad left after a very uncomfortable minute, muttering something about teenagers and their phases. The moment the door closed, Orion turned on me. That was foolish, he said. If they discover me, I will remove the threat. I blinked. You will do what? They are obstacles, he said simply. I stepped in front of him without thinking. No. The room went very quiet. He looked at me. Really looked. You command me, he asked. My heart tried to escape my chest. No, I said. I'm just asking. He stared for a long second. Then he turned away. They are safe, he said. For now. I exhaled. He still wanted to leave. Still searched for a way home. Still treated me like a servant who talked too much. But for the first time, I realized something terrifying. If Orion Black stayed too long, my world wouldn't survive him. And somehow, neither would he. Chapter 5, The Portal Almost Works, which is rude, honestly. I should start by saying this. I did not invite the villain to almost destroy my house. He just woke up that morning and decided today felt like a rip the universe open kind of day. I have identified the problem, Ryan said, staring at my bedroom wall like it had personally insulted him. That's great, I replied, brushing my teeth. Because I've identified mine. It's you. He ignored me. Apparently, the reason his portal hadn't worked was because my world lacked arcane resonance, which sounded fake but also expensive. So, I said, mouth full of toothpaste, what you're saying is, you're stuck. For now, he corrected. But not permanently. I did not like the confidence in his voice. He spent the next hour arranging things in my room that absolutely should not go together. Chalk symbols. Salt lines. My phone flashlight taped to a chair. A mirror I definitely did not give permission to be used for interdimensional nonsense. This will either work, he said, or destroy a small portion of your reality. I stared. Those are wildly different outcomes. He finally looked at me. Stand back. That's when I realized something important. He wasn't joking anymore. The air changed. The symbol started glowing. My room began doing that low vibrating thing rooms should never do. And then, a crack. Right in front of us. It wasn't dramatic like in movies. No lightning. No explosions. Just a thin, sharp line in the air, like reality had been cut with a knife. Orion went still. That's it, he breathed. That's my world. I should have been relieved. I wasn't. Because for the first time since he arrived, he looked hesitant. Not scared. Just paused. The crack widened. Wind rushed through. The lights flickered. Somewhere downstairs, my mom yelled my name. This is your chance, I said, trying to sound casual while my soul was actively panicking. Go. Conquer. Villain stuff. He didn't move. You will be free, I added. No more cheap beds. No more awkward dinners. No more, me. That last word came out quieter than I intended. Orion finally stepped forward. The crack pulsed. And then, it collapsed. Just like that. No warning. No drama. Gone. Silence filled the room. Orion stood frozen, staring at empty air. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he closed his fist. Unacceptable. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Well, I said weakly, on the bright side. He turned. His expression wasn't anger. It was something worse. Resolve. This world is binding me, he said. And you are the anchor. I swallowed. That sounds bad. It is, he confirmed. And that was the moment I realized something terrifying. The portal almost worked. Which meant someday. It will. And when it does, one of us is going to be left behind. Chapter 6, The Problem with Getting Used to Him. The problem with Orion Black was not that he was dangerous. The problem was that I was getting used to him. Which felt illegal. After the portal incident, he stopped rearranging my room like a mad sorcerer and started watching. Not in a creepy way. in a strategic, calculating, mildly judgmental way. He watched how I tied my shoes wrong, how I skipped breakfast, how I talked too much when I was nervous. "You are inefficient," he said one morning. "I'm 15, I replied. "It's kind of our brand." He frowned. "You are also careless." "Again," I said, grabbing my bag, very on theme. We walked to school together that day. Well, I walked. He followed like a shadow that refused to leave. I had made him promise to wear normal clothes, which he did. Mostly. The long coat was gone, but black was still very much his personality. People stared. My friend stared harder. "Who's that?" my friend Ryan whispered. "My cousin," I said immediately. Orion looked at me. "I am not related to you," he said flatly. I smiled through my teeth. "You are today." School was a disaster. Orion hated noise. Hated authority. Hated bells. He especially hated my teachers. "This structure is inefficient," he muttered during history class. "Please don't overthrow the education system," I whispered. He leaned closer. I could. I believed him. At lunch, someone bumped into me. My tray nearly fell. Before I could react, Ryan's hand was already on the table, blocking the guy. "Apologize," Ryan said calmly. The cafeteria went quiet. I panicked. "It's fine," I said quickly. "Totally fine. No bloodshed today." Orion didn't move. The guy muttered an apology and ran. Orion sat back down like nothing happened. My heart wouldn't slow down. "You didn't have to do that," I said. "You are under my protection," he replied. "I didn't ask for that." He looked at me, really looked at me this time. "You didn't ask for me either," he said quietly. That shut me up. That night, back in my room, I caught him standing by the window again. "I almost escaped today," he said. "I know. And yet," he added, "I did not try again. I waited. I am reassessing variables," he finished. I didn't know why my chest felt tight. "Well," I said, forcing a grin, "take your time. I'm terrible company." He turned slightly. "You are chaotic," he said. "Rude. You are loud. Also rude. And yet," he paused, "this world feels less hostile when you are present." I laughed, because that was safer than thinking. Wow. High praise. He didn't laugh back. And for the first time since he fell into my life, he stayed by the window, not looking for a way out. Just watching the city lights with me. Chapter 7, The Day My Mom Met a Villain. If there is one universal truth, it is this. You can hide a lot of things from your parents. A failing grade. A broken controller. An interdimensional villain living in your room? Not so much. It happened on a Sunday morning. The kind where my mom decides the house must be cleaned because guests might come, even though no one ever does. Orion was sitting at my desk, sharpening a knife. Not for violence. For fruit. I walked in, froze, and whispered, "Why are you doing that like you're preparing for war?" "This apple offended me," he said calmly. Before I could respond, my mom knocked. "Jace? Breakfast." I panicked. "Hide," I hissed. "Where?" "I don't know." "Under the bed? The closet?" Become a concept. He stared at me. "I do not hide." The door opened. My mom stepped in, and stopped. Her eyes went from Orion to the knife. To me. "Who is that?" "This," I said quickly, "is Orion." "Yes," Orion said, standing and bowing slightly. "Good morning." My mom blinked. "He's my cousin," I added. "From far away." Orion looked at me. Again. I braced myself. "Very far," he said smoothly. My mom relaxed instantly. I did not understand her brain. Well, Cousin Orion, she said, smiling, breakfast is ready. He followed her to the kitchen like a soldier entering enemy territory. At the table, he sat straight. Too straight. He examined the food like it might explode. This is acceptable, he said after one bite. My dad raised an eyebrow. That's high praise. I nearly choked. My parents loved him. Of course they did. He helped clear dishes. He didn't talk back. He made eye contact. At one point, my mom whispered, "Why can't you be more like him?" I whispered back, "Because he's a villain." That afternoon, my friends came over. Orion watched them like a predator observing confused prey. Ryan whispered, "Your cousin is terrifying." "Please don't provoke him," I whispered back. Then my friend Maya laughed at something I said. Orion's gaze snapped to her. Something sharp crossed his face. It vanished just as quickly. But I noticed. Later, when everyone left, I found him in my room again. "You disapprove of my friends?" I asked. "They distract you," he replied. "They are my life." He was silent. "I will not interfere," he said finally. "This world is already claiming you." I didn't know why that sounded sad. That night, my mom knocked again. "Jace," she said gently, "Orion can stay as long as he needs." I nodded. Orion looked at me. Not dominant. Not dangerous. Just thoughtful. After she left, he spoke quietly. "In my world, no one offered me a place at their table." I swallowed. "Well," I said, "ours is kind of messy, but you're here." He inclined his head. And for the first time, he didn't return to the window. He sat on the floor, back against my bed. Close. Not touching. But close enough that I noticed. Chapter 8. When he stepped back. The change was subtle at first. Orion stopped sitting near me. He went back to the window. Back to silence. Back to that cold, untouchable distance he wore like armor. At breakfast, he spoke less. At school, he didn't follow as closely. When I talked, he listened, but something was missing. I told myself I didn't care. Which was a lie. "You're acting weird," I said that evening, dropping onto my bed. "I am acting correctly," he replied without turning. "That's worse." He finally looked at me. "You are becoming comfortable," he said. "That is inefficient." "Oh," I laughed. "Sorry for being human." "This attachment," he continued, voice controlled, "is a liability." The word stung. "So what?" I snapped. "You're just going to ignore me now?" "I am restoring balance," he said. "You forget what I am." I stood up. "I know exactly what you are." That made him pause. "You're a villain from a comic who can't work a microwave," I continued. "You get annoyed by my music. You eat apples like they insulted your ancestors. You—" "Enough," he said sharply. Silence crashed between us. "I am not meant to stay," he said quietly. "This world is not mine." "Then why does it feel like you're mad at me?" He didn't answer. The next day, he didn't come to school with me. I told myself it was fine. It wasn't. Everything felt louder without him. Dumber. Smaller. That afternoon, I came home to raised voices. My parents. "Orion. I appreciate your hospitality," Orion was saying, perfectly polite, "but I will not remain dependent." My mom looked worried. My dad looked confused. "I never asked you to be," she said gently. I stood frozen in the hallway. "I will be leaving soon," Orion continued. Something in my chest cracked. That night, he didn't come to my room. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, realizing something terrifying. I wasn't afraid of him leaving his world anymore. I was afraid of him leaving mine. When I finally fell asleep, it was to the sound of the window opening. Soft. Careful. I didn't move. I felt him there. Not beside me. Just present. I am trying to protect you, he whispered, so quietly I almost thought I imagined it. I didn't answer. Because if I did, I might have asked him not to go. And I wasn't ready for that. Chapter 9, The Night He Chose Instinct. I knew something was wrong the moment my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. You left your bag at school. I stared at the screen. I hadn't. But I was stupid enough to check. The street outside was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that feels staged. I told myself I was overthinking. I stepped out anyway. That's when the shadows moved. Not monsters. Not magic. Just people. 3 of them. Hey, one said, smiling wrong. You Jace. My heart started sprinting. I backed up slowly. I think you've got the wrong. They moved faster. And then the air shifted. A pressure slammed between us. Orion stepped out of the dark like he had always been there. Leave, he said calmly. One of them laughed. And who are you supposed to be? Orion didn't answer. He didn't need to. Something in his gaze made them hesitate. I said, he repeated, voice low, controlled, dangerous, leave. They ran. I stood there shaking, adrenaline buzzing through my veins. Orion turned to me. You are injured. No, I breathed. Just terrified. He exhaled, sharp and angry, not at me, but at himself. I told you I would step back, he said. And still. You came, I said. He stopped. I acted on instinct, he admitted. That is unacceptable. I laughed weakly. You literally saved me. You should not need saving, he replied. Maybe, I said, but I needed you. That was a mistake. The words hung between us. Heavy. Orion looked away first. I will accelerate my departure, he said. This proves my presence is dangerous. No, I said quickly. This proves you care. He turned sharply. Do not name it, he warned. Silence stretched. I didn't ask you to be perfect, I said softly. I just didn't want to be alone. He closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, the distance was back, but thinner now. Fragile. I will remain, he said finally. Until I can ensure you are safe. I nodded, even though my chest hurt. That night, he sat outside my door. Not inside. Not leaving. Just guarding. And I realized something as I fell asleep. He didn't choose me with words. He chose me with instinct. Chapter 10, The Weight of Staying. The next morning felt different. Not louder. Not quieter. Heavier. My mom noticed first. You're pale, she said, placing a plate in front of me. Did you sleep? Define sleep, I replied. Orion stood by the counter, arms crossed, eyes alert like the house was a battlefield. My dad watched him carefully. You don't have to stand guard, he said gently. This is home. Orion hesitated. I am unfamiliar with the concept, he admitted. That hit something in the room. Later, when my parents left for work, the house fell into an uncomfortable quiet. You scared them, I said lightly. They are not afraid, Orion replied. They are concerned. For me? Yes. I leaned back against the couch. You know, I said, normal people would have left after almost getting arrested by reality. I am not normal, he said. No kidding. He moved toward the window, then stopped. I have begun to forget things, he said suddenly. Like what? The sound of my world at night, he replied. The way the air tastes before battle. I swallowed. And is that Bad. He didn't answer right away. I was feared, he said instead. Respected. Unchallenged. And now? He looked at me. Now I am questioned, he said. By a child who laughs at danger. Hey, I protested. I only laugh because crying is embarrassing. A corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. That afternoon, my friends texted. You okay? Your cousin is intense. I glanced at Orion. He's not my cousin, I typed back. I didn't know why that mattered. That evening, he helped my mom cook. He burned nothing. Followed instructions. Listened. I watched from the doorway, something warm settling in my chest. Later, in my room, he spoke quietly. If I stay too long, he said, I will change. I sat on my bed. And if you leave? He didn't respond. I looked up at him. That's what scares you, isn't it? He met my gaze. Yes. He turned back toward the window, but didn't open it. I will delay my departure, he said. Briefly. I nodded. Neither of us said what that really meant. But that night, when the house settled into sleep, he didn't guard the door. He sat beside my bed. Close enough that I could feel the warmth of him. And for the first time, staying didn't feel like a strategy. It felt like a weight. One he was choosing to carry. Chapter 11, The Story He Never Told. It started with the book. One of my comics, old, bent, reread too many times, was lying open on the floor. Orion was staring at it like it might speak. That version of me, he said slowly, is inaccurate. I sat beside him. Yeah. You're way less dramatic in real life. He didn't smile. In my world, he continued, I was not born a villain. That made me look up. I was created as one. The room felt smaller. They needed someone to carry blame, he said. Someone to end wars without mercy. I accepted. Why? Because someone had to, he replied simply. I swallowed. So you're telling me you're the bad guy because no one else wanted to be? Yes. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavy with understanding. That night, he tried again. No chalk. No symbols. Just focus. The air trembled. I watched, heart pounding, as a faint glow formed in front of him. Not a crack. A door. This will work, he said quietly. You're sure? Yes. I should have said something. I didn't. The glow widened. Wind rushed through. Orion stepped forward, then stopped. He turned back. I was feared there, he said. Here. I am known. My throat tightened. You don't have to choose tonight, I said, even though part of me was screaming. He looked at me like he was memorizing something. Knowing you, he said, has altered me. The door flickered. I took a step forward without thinking. If you go, I said, voice unsteady, I won't stop you. That was the truth. But not the whole one. His hand clenched. He turned back to the door. Then. It faded. He didn't chase it. He stood there, breathing slowly, like he'd just survived something. I cannot return, he said hoarsely. Because it failed. No, he said. Because I did. He sat down heavily. For the first time since I met him. He looked tired. I sat beside him, not touching, just there. I don't know what this is, I said quietly. Neither do I, he replied. But this time. He didn't move away. Chapter 12, The Day I Stopped Laughing It Off. Somewhere along the way, I turned 18. It didn't feel dramatic. No fireworks. No sudden wisdom. Just one morning where my reflection looked steadier. Orion noticed. You've changed, he said. I upgraded, I replied. Still buggy. He didn't look amused. That day at school, everything felt distant. Friends talked. Teachers lectured. Life moved forward like it always had. And I realized something terrifying. I wasn't waiting for Orion to leave anymore. I was afraid of what would happen if he stayed. That night, my parents sat us down. "We know something is different," my mom said carefully. "About you too." Orion was calm. Still. Respectful. "I will not harm him," he said. "That's not what we're worried about," my dad replied gently. Silence filled the room. Later, in my room, I finally snapped. "You don't get to protect me from this," I said. "Not anymore." "From what?" Orion asked. "From us." That stopped him. "You think I don't notice?" I continued. "The way you watch me. The way you don't leave. The way this," I gestured between us, "stopped being temporary." "This attachment is dangerous," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Then why are you still here?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer. Not dominating. Not threatening. Careful. "I stayed," he said quietly, "because leaving now would hurt more than staying ever did." My chest tightened. "That's not strategy," I whispered. "No," he admitted. That night, neither of us slept. And neither of us pretended anymore. Chapter 13, The Door That Asked a Question. The door appeared 3 days later. No warning. No ritual. Just a quiet distortion in the air, like reality taking a careful breath. Orion felt it before I did. He froze mid-step, eyes sharpening. "It's open," he said. My stomach dropped. "Your world?" "Yes." I didn't joke this time. We stood there in my room, the glow pale and steady between us. It wasn't violent like before. It was patient. Waiting. "This one won't collapse," Orion said. "It's stable." "So this is it," I said softly. He nodded. "I can return," he said. "And if I do, I won't be able to come back." The words settled slowly, painfully. I wanted to tell him to go. Wanted to do the right thing. Instead, what came out was, "What happens if you stay?" He looked at me. "I lose what I was," he said. "My authority. My power. My world." "And what do you gain?" "Silence." "I don't know," he admitted. "That uncertainty terrifies me more than battle ever did." I stepped closer to the door, then stopped. "You were feared there," I said. "But here, you're choosing." "I've never been allowed to choose," he said quietly. The door pulsed, as if reminding us it wouldn't wait forever. "If you leave," I said, forcing steadiness into my voice, "I won't hate you." He turned fully toward me. "That is not what I fear," he said. The truth in his eyes made my chest ache. "I fear," he continued, "that if I leave now, I will spend eternity wondering who I might have been if I stayed." The glow brightened. Time pressed in on us. I took a breath. "Then don't think about forever." He frowned slightly. "Think about tonight," I said. "Think about this room. This life. Me." His control cracked, just a little. He reached out, stopped himself, then let his hand fall. "I am not a good man," he said. "I know," I replied. "You're still you." The door began to tremble. Orion took one step toward it. Then stopped. He looked back at me one last time. Not like a villain. Not like a guardian. Like someone standing at the edge of a life. The light flickered. And for the first time, he didn't move forward. Chapter 14, What He Let Go of. The door didn't vanish. It waited. Patient. Certain. Like it had all the time in the universe and none of my mercy. Orion stood between it and me, perfectly still. Not torn. Not panicked. Just deciding. I can feel it, he said softly. If I cross that threshold, everything returns to how it was meant to be. Power, I said. Purpose, he corrected. Clarity. And fear, I added. He didn't deny it. You would be safe, he said. You would forget me. I shook my head. I don't think I would. That made him turn. You always underestimate your impact, he said. Funny, I replied. I was going to say the same about you. The light from the door stretched across the floor, touching his boots. Inviting. He looked down at it like it was an old wound reopening. In my world, he said, I was never allowed to want. I swallowed. And now? Now, he said slowly, I am surrounded by small, insignificant things. The worst kind, I said weakly. He almost smiled. Noise. Warmth. People who argue with me. A life that does not demand blood. He looked at me then, really looked. And one person who sees me without fear. My heart beat too loudly. You could still go, I said. I won't stop you. I know, he said. That was the problem. He turned back to the door. For one breathless second, I thought he would step through. Instead, he raised his hand. And closed his fist. The light faltered. The door cracked, not opening, but breaking, like a reflection disturbed. Orion exhaled. I choose this world, he said quietly. The door collapsed into nothing. Silence rushed in to fill the space it left behind. I couldn't breathe. It's done, he said. There will be no more chances. The weight of that choice settled around us, not crushing, but real. You're staying, I said. Yes. For good. Yes. Something in my chest finally gave way. He stepped closer. Not invading. Not claiming. Just closing the distance that had existed for too long. I do not know who I will become, he said. Without that world. I looked up at him. You'll figure it out, I said. You're annoyingly capable. A quiet sound left him. Almost a laugh. He stopped inches from me. Too close to ignore. Not close enough to touch. Jace, he said, saying my name like it mattered. It did? I stayed, he continued, because you changed the gravity of my existence. My breath caught. That's the most villain thing you've ever said. His gaze softened. And for the first time, the danger between us wasn't sharp. It was warm. Unavoidable. And waiting. Chapter 15, The Villain Who Stayed. Time didn't stop after Orion chose to stay. That was the strangest part. Life kept moving, loud, ordinary, stubbornly alive. Weeks passed. Then months. Orion learned how this world worked in pieces. He learned that mornings were slow. That coffee was bitter but necessary. That my mom worried too much and my dad pretended not to. He learned how to exist without command or conquest. And I learned how to stop pretending nothing mattered. He didn't dominate anymore. Not because he couldn't. But because he didn't need to. Some nights we sat on the roof, legs dangling over the edge, watching the city breathe. You're quieter now, I said once. You've grown louder, he replied. Rude. True. It wasn't awkward between us. It wasn't undefined either. It was something steady. Chosen. Real. One evening, after a long, normal day, I found him in my room again. Not by the window. By the desk. Reading one of my comics. They still get you wrong, I said. Yes, he agreed. But less than before. I sat beside him. Close enough that our shoulders brushed. Neither of us moved away. I used to think villains were born evil, I said quietly. And I used to think goodness was weakness, he replied. We were both silent for a while. Then he spoke again. In my world, he said, a moment like this would never exist. I looked up at him. Well, I said, good thing you stayed. He turned. There was no hesitation this time. No fear. Just certainty. He lifted his hand slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His fingers brushed my jaw, careful, reverent, like this mattered more than any battle ever had. Jace, he said softly. And then he kissed me. Not desperate. Not claiming. Just a quiet meeting of choice and trust. The world didn't crack open. Nothing dramatic happened. But something settled. When we pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. I am no longer the man I was, he said. I smiled. Good, I replied. He sounded exhausting. A soft breath of laughter left him. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, something permanent had been built. Not a conquest. Not a destiny. Just two people who found each other. And stayed. And so, this story ends here. Not with a battle. Not with a victory. But with a choice. If you stayed until the end, thank you for listening with your heart. If this story made you smile, pause, or feel something quiet inside you, then maybe it stayed with you too. More worlds. More characters. More stories that fall into places they don't belong. If you want to hear them, subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Share it with someone who loves stories that linger. Until the next story finds you. This is BL Without Labels. Signing off.